building. I'll keep that in mind. So, I'm going to be reading chapter 14 of Winks and Ruin. And if you haven't read the book in a while, that's when Feyre left the Spring Court, left it in shambles, mind you, made her way through the Autumn Court, fought Aaron or Eris? Eris. I think it's Eris. And finally made it to Valaris. So, just got to Valaris. I've been looking forward to reading this chapter for like almost a week. So you should know what happens, Kaylee. Eris. Thank you, Lex. I appreciate it. Okay. Chapter 14. I had not let myself imagine it. The moment I'd again stand in the wood panel foyer of the townhouse, when I'd hear the song of the gulls soaring high above Valaris, smell the brine of the Cedra River that wended through the heart of the city, feel the warmth of the sunshine streaming through the windows upon my back. Mor had windowed us all, and now stood behind me, panting softly as we watched Lucian survey our surroundings. His metal eye whirred, while the other warily scanned the rooms flanking the foyer, the dining room and sitting room overlooking the little front yard and street. Then the stairs to the second level, then the hallway beside it that led to the kitchen and the courtyard garden. Then finally to the shut front door, to the city waiting beyond. Cassian took up a place against the banister, crossing his arms with an arrogance I knew meant trouble. Asriel remained beside me, shadows wreathing his knuckles, as if battling High Lords' sons was how they usually spend their days. I wonder if Lucian knew that his first words here would either damn or save him. I wonder what my role in it would be. No, it was my call. High Lady, I outranked them, my friends. It was my call to make whether Lucian was allowed to keep his freedom. But their watchful silence was indication enough. Let him decide his own fate. At last, Lucian looked at me, at us. He said, "There are children laughing in the streets." I blinked. He said it with such quiet surprise, as if he hadn't heard the sound in a long, long time. I opened my mouth to reply, but someone else spoke for me. That they do so at all after Hybern's attack is testament to how hard the people of Valaris have worked to rebuild. I whirled, finding Amryn emerging from wherever she'd been sitting in the other room, the plush furniture hiding her small body. She appeared exactly as she had the last time I'd seen her, standing in this very foyer, warning us to be careful in Hybern. Her chin-length jet-black hair gleamed in the sunlight, her silver, unearthly eyes unusually bright as they met mine. The delicate female bowed her head, as much of a gesture of obedience as a 15,000-year-old creature could make to a newly minted High Lady. And friend, I see you brought home a new pet, she said, nose crinkling with distaste. I fucking love Amryn so much. Like a giant tiger in a tiny woman's body. The tiny ancient one. Something like fear had entered Lucian's eye, as if he, too, beheld the monster that lurked beneath that beautiful face. Indeed, it seemed he had heard of her already. Before I could introduce him, Lucian bowed at the waist deeply. Cassian let out an amused grunt, and I shot him a warning glare. Amryn smiled slightly. Already trained, I see. Lucian slowly straightened, as if he were standing before the open maw of some Great Plains cat he did not wish to startle with sudden movements. Amran, this is Lucian, Vansera. Lucian stiffened. I don't use my family's name. He clarified to Amran with another incline of his head. Lucian will do. I suspected he'd cease using that name the moment his lover's heart had stopped beating. Amran was studying that metal eye. Clever work, she said, and then surveyed me. Looks like someone clawed you up, girl. Excuse me. The wound in my arm, at least, had healed, though a nasty red mark remained. I assumed my face wasn't much better. Before I could answer her, Lucian asked, What is this place? We all looked at him. Home, I said. This is my home. I could see the details now sinking in. The lack of darkness, the lack of screaming, the scent of the sea and citrus, not blood and decay, the laughter of children's that indeed continued. The greatest secret in Prithian's history. This is Villaris, I explained, the city of starlight. His throat bobbed. And you are High Lady of the Night Court. Indeed she is. My blood stopped at the voice that drawled from behind me, at the scent that hit me, awoke me. My friends began smiling. I turned. Resend leaned against the archway into the sitting room, arms crossed, wings nowhere to be seen, dressed in his usual immaculate black jacket and pants. And as those violet eyes met mine, as that familiar half smile faded, my face crumpled. A small broken noise cracked from me. Reese was instantly moving, but my legs had already given out. The foyer carpet cushioned the impact as I sank to my knees. I covered my face with my hands while the past month crashed into me. Reese knelt before me, knee to knee. Gently, he pulled my hands away from my face. Gently, he took my cheeks in his hands and brushed away the tears. I didn't care that we had an audience as I lifted my head and beheld the joy and concern and love shining in those remarkable eyes. Neither did Reese as he murmured, My love, and kissed me. I'd no sooner slid my hands into his hair than he scooped me into his arms and stood in one smooth movement. I pulled my mouth from his, glancing toward a pallid Lucian, but Resend said to our companions without so much as looking at them, Go find somewhere else to be for a while. He didn't wait to see if they obeyed. Reese windowed us up the stairs and launched into a steady, swift walk down the hallway. I peered down at the foyer in time to spy Moore grabbing Lucian's arm and nodding to the others before they all vanished. Get the feeling I know where this is going. Do you want to go over what happened at the spring court? I asked, voice raw, as I studied my mate's face. No amusement, nothing but that predatory intensity, focused on my every breath. There are other things I'd rather do first. He carried me into our bedroom, once his bedroom, now full of our belongings. It was exactly as I had last seen it. The enormous bed that he now strode for, the two armoires, the desk by the window that overlooked the courtyard garden, now bursting with purple and pink and blue amid the lush greens. I braced myself to be sprawled on the bed, but Reese paused halfway across the room, the door sneaking shut on a star-kissed wind. Slowly, he set me on the plush carpet, blatantly sliding me down his body as he did so. as if he was powerless to resist touching me, as reluctant to let go as I was with him. And every place where our bodies met, all of him, so warm and solid and real, I savored it, my throat tight as I placed a hand on his sculpted chest, the thunderous heartbeat beneath his black jacket echoing into my palm, the only sign of whatever torrent coursed through him as he skimmed his hands up my arms in a lingering caress and gripped my shoulders. His thumbs stroked a gentle rhythm over my filthy clothes as he scanned my face. Beautiful. He was even more beautiful than I had remembered, dreamed of during those weeks at the spring court. For a long moment, we only breathed in each other's air. For a long moment, all I could do was take the scent of him deep into my lungs, letting it settle inside me. My fingers tightened on his jacket. Mate. My mate. Before I go on, it just broke my heart that the first thing she said was like, "Do you want to go over um, what happened in the spring court?" Because you know what was happening there, like in her brain. Because that's what she would have to do every time she came back from the night court, back to the spring court when she was still there. Hate that. Okay, mate, my mate. As if he heard it down the bond, Reese finally murmured, "When the bond went dark, I thought." Fear, genuine terror shadowed his eyes, even as his thumbs continued stroking my shoulders, gentle and steady. By the time I got to the spring court, you'd vanished. Tamlin was raging through that forest, hunting for you, but you hid your scent, and even I couldn't find you. The snag in his words was a knife to my gut. We went to the autumn court through one of the doors, I said, setting my other hand on his arm. The corded muscles beneath shifted at my touch. You couldn't find me because two Hybern commanders drugged my food and drink with Fabane, enough to extinguish my powers. I still don't have full use. Cold rage now flickered across that beautiful face as his thumbs halted on my shoulders. You killed them. Not entirely a question, but I nodded. Good. I swallowed. Has Hybern sacked the spring court? Not yet. Whatever you did, it worked. Tamless sentries abandoned him, or half his people refused to appear for the tithe 2 days ago. Some are leaving for other courts. Some are murmuring of rebellion. It seems you made yourself quite beloved. Holy, even. Amusement at last warmed his features. They were rather upset when they believed he'd allowed Hybern to terrorize you into fleeing. I traced the faint silver whorl of embroidery on the breast of his jacket, and I could have sworn he shuddered beneath the touch. I suppose they'll learn soon enough I'm well cared for. Reese's hands tightened on my shoulders in agreement, as if, as if he were about to show me just how well cared for I was. But I angled my head. What about Yantha and Jorian? Reeson's powerful chest heaved beneath my hands as he blew out a breath. Reports are murky on both. Jorian, it seems, has returned to the has returned to the hand that feeds him. Yantha, Reese lifted his brows. I assume her hand is courtesy of you and not the commander's. She fell, I said sweetly. Must have been some fall, he mused, a dark smile dancing on those lips as he drifted even closer, the heat of his body seeping into me, while his hands migrated from my shoulders to brush lazy lines down my back. I bit my lip, focusing on his words and not the urge to arch into the touch, to bury my face in his chest and do some exploring of my own. She's currently convalescing after her ordeal, apparently. Won't leave her temple. It was my turn to murmur. Good. Perhaps one of those pretty acolytes of hers would get sick of her sanctimonious bullshit and smother Yantha in her sleep. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm saving that one. Uh, I braced my hands on his hips, fully ready to slide beneath his jacket, needing to touch bare skin. But Reese straightened, pulling back. Still close enough that one of his hands remained on my waist, but the other. He reached for my arm, gently examining the angry welt where my skin had been torn by an arrow. Darkness rumbled in the corner of the room. Cassian led me into his mind just now to show me what happened on the ice. He stroked the thumb of the hurt, the touch feather light. Eris was always a male of limited days. Now Lucian might find himself closer to inheriting his father's throne than he ever expected to be. My spine locked. Eris is precisely as horrible as you painted him to be. Reese's thumb glided over my forearm again, leaving goose flesh in its wake. A promise, not of the retribution he was contemplating, but of what awaited us in this room, the bed a few feet away, until he murmured, "You declared yourself High Lady. Was I not supposed to?" He released my arm to brush his knuckles across my cheek. "I've wanted to roar it from the rooftops of Valaris from the moment the priestess anointed you. How typical of you to upend my grand plans." A smile tugged on my lips. "It happened less than an hour ago. I'm sure you could go crawl from the chimney right now and everyone would give you the credit for breaking the news." His fingers threaded through my hair, tilting my face up. That wicked smile grew and my toes curled in their boots. "There's my darling Feyre." His head dipped, his gaze fixated on my mouth, hunger lighting those violent eyes. "Where are my sisters?" The thought clanged through me, jarring as a pealing bell. Reese paused, hands slipping from my hair as his smile faded. "At the House of Wind." He straightened, swallowing, as if it somehow checked him. "I can take you to them." Every word seemed to be an effort. But he would, I realized. He shoved down his knees for me and take me to them. If if that was what I wanted. My choice. It had always been my choice with him. I shook my head. I couldn't see them. Not yet. Not until I was steady enough to face them. They're well, they're well, though? His hesitation told me enough. They're safe. Not really an answer, but I wasn't going to fool myself into thinking my sisters would be thriving. I leaned my brow against his chest. "Cassian and Asriel are healed," I murmured against his jacket, breathing in the scent of him over and over as tremor shuddered through me. "You told me that, and yet it didn't sink in until now." Reese ran a hand down my back, the other sliding to grip my hip. "Asriel healed within a few days." Cassian's wings, it was complex, but he's been training every day to regain his strength. The healer had to rebuild most of his wings, but he'll be fine. One sec. Ah. I swallowed down the tightness in my throat and wrapped my arms around his waist, pressing my face wholly against his chest. His hand tightened on my hip in answer, the other resting at my nape, holding me to him as I breathed. Moore said that you were far away. That's why you weren't there. I'm sorry I wasn't. No, I said, lifting my head to scan his eyes, the guilt dampening them. I didn't mean it like that. I savored the feel of him beneath my palms. Where were you? Reese stilled, and I braced myself as he said casually, I couldn't very well let you do all the work to undermine our enemies, could I? I didn't smile. Where were you? I'd be shitting bricks right now. With as with as only recently back on his feet, I took it upon myself to do some of his work. I clenched my jaw. Such as? He leaned down, nuzzling my throat. Don't you don't you want to comfort your mate who has missed you terribly these weeks? I planted a hand on his face and pushed him back, scowling. I want my mate to tell me where the hell he was. Then he can get his comfort. Reese nipped at my fingers, teeth snapping playfully. Cruel, beautiful female. I watched them beneath lower brows. Reese rolled his eyes, sighing. I was on the continent, at the human queen's palace. Oh shit. I choked. You were where? Technically, I was flying above it, but you went alone? He gaped at me. I can just imagine him going like, excuse me, I can handle myself. He gaped at me. Despite what our mistakes in Hybern might have you suggested, I am capable of. You went to the human world, to our enemy's compound, alone? I'd rather it be me than any of the others. That had been his problem from the start. Always him, always sacrificing. Why? I demanded. Why risk it? Is something happening? Reese peered toward the window, as if he could see all the way to the mortal lands. His mouth tightened. It's the quiet on their side of the sea that bothers me. No whispers of armies gathered, no other human allies summoned. Since Hybern, we've heard nothing. So I thought to see for myself why that is. He flicked my nose, tugging me closer again. I just neared the edge of their territory when I felt the bond awaken again. I knew the others were closer, so I sent them. You don't need to explain. Reese rested his chin atop my head. I wanted to be there, to get you, find you, bring you home. You do certainly enjoy a dramatic entrance. He chuckled, his breath warming my hair as I listened to the sound rumble through his body. Of course, he would have been working against Hybern while I was away. And I expected them all to be sitting on their asses for over a month. And Reese, constantly plotting, always a step ahead. He would have used his time to his advantage. I debated asking about it, but right now, breathing him in, feeling his warmth, let it wait. Reese planted a kiss to my hair. You're home. A shuddering, small sound came out of me as I nodded, squeezing him tighter. Home, not just Valaris, but wherever he was, our family was. Ebony claws stroked along the barrier in my mind, in affection and request. I lowered my shields for him, just as his own dropped. His mind curled around mine, as surely as his body now held me. I missed you every moment, Reese said, leaning down to kiss the corner of my mouth. Your smile. His lips grazed over the shell of my ear, and my back arched slightly. Your laugh. He pressed a kiss to my neck, right beneath my ear, and I tilted my head to give him access, biting down the urge to beg him to take more, to take faster, as he murmured, Your scent. I can see why Dale wanted me to read this chapter. My eyes fluttered close as his hands coasted around my hips to cup my rear, squeezing as he bent to kiss the center of my throat. The sounds you make when I'm inside you. His tongue flicked over the spot where he'd kiss, and one of those sounds indeed escaped me. Reese kissed the hollow of my collarbone, and my core went utterly molten. My brave, bold, brilliant mate. Oh, um, TikTok is telling me to calm the heck down right now. Oops. It would just pop up after pop up being like, you're reading things you shouldn't be, aren't you? Which, to be fair, not gonna stop me though. I've done it before. I'll do it again. God damn it. Exactly. Hush. We got important things to read here. It's very informative. Overlords. Yeah. Oh hell. All right. All right. All right. I'm getting to it. My brave, bold, brilliant mate. He lifted his head, and it was an effort to open my eyes, to meet his stare as his hand roved in lazy lines down my back, over my rear, then up again. I love you, he said, and if I hadn't already believed him, felt it in my very bones, the light in his face as he said those words. Tears burned my eyes again, slipping free before I could control myself. Reese leaned in to lick them away, one after another, as he'd once done under the mountain. You have a choice, he murmured against my cheekbone. Either I lick every inch of you clean. His hand grazed the tip of my breast, circling lazily, as if we had days and days to do this. Or you can get into the bath that should be ready by now. I pulled away, lifting a brow. Are you suggesting that I smell? Reese smirked, and I could have sworn my core pounded an answer. Never, but his eyes darkened, the desire and amusement fading as he took in my clothes. There is blood on you, yours and others. I thought I'd be a good mate and offer you a bath before I ravish you wholly. I huffed a laugh, and I brushed back his hair, savoring the silken sable strands between my fingers. So considerate. Though I can't believe you kicked everyone out of the house so you could take me to bed. One of the many benefits of being High Lord. What a terrible abuse of power. That half smile danced on his mouth. Well, as much as I like to see you attempt to lick off a week's worth of dirt, sweat, and blood, his eyes gleamed with the challenge, and I laughed again. Normal bath, please. He had the nerve to look vaguely disappointed. I poked him in the chest as I pushed away, aiming for the large bathing room attached to the bedroom. The massive porcelain tub was already filled with steaming water and bubbles? Do you have a moral objection to them? do you do you have a moral objection to bubbles? Oh, fucking hell. I love them together. Oh, shit. I grinned, unbuttoning my jacket. My fingers were near black with dirt and cake blood. I cringed. I might need more than one bath to get clean. Literally the best of facts. He snapped his fingers, and my skin was instantly pristine again. I blinked. If you can do that, then what's the point of the bath? He'd done it under a mountain for me a few times. That magical cleaning. I'd somehow never asked. He leaned against the doorway, watching me peel off my torn and stained jacket, as if it were the most important task that he'd ever been given. The essence of the dirt remains. His voice roughened as he tracked each movement of my fingers while I unlaced my boots, like a layer of oil. Indeed, my skin, while it looked clean, felt unwashed. I kicked off the boots, letting them land on my filthy jacket, so it's more for aesthetic purposes. You're taking too long, he said, jerking his chin towards the bath. My breast tightened at the slight growl lacing his words. He watched that too, and I smiled to myself, arching my back a bit more than necessary as I removed my shirt and tossed it to the marble floor. Sunlight streamed in through the steam rising from the tub, casting the space between us in gold and white. Reese made a low noise that sounded vaguely like a whimper as he took in my bare torso, as he took in my breast, now heavy and aching, badly enough that I had to swallow my plea to forget this bath entirely. But I pretended not to notice as I unbuttoned my pants and let them fall to the floor, along with my undergarments. Reese's eyes simmered. I smirked, daring a look at his own pants, at the evidence of what exactly I was doing to him, pressing the black material with impressive demand. I simply crooned. Too bad there isn't room in the tub for two. A design flaw, and one I shall remedy tomorrow. His voice was rough, quiet, and he slid and it slid invisible hands down my breast, between my legs. Mother save me. I somehow managed to walk, to climb into the tub, somehow managed to remember how to bathe myself. Reese remained leaning against the doorway the entire time, silently watching with that unrelenting focus. I might have taken longer washing certain areas and might have made sure he saw it. What an asshole. What an absolute tease. He only gripped the threshold hard enough that the wood groaned beneath his hand. But Reese made no move to pounce, even when I toweled off and brushed out my tangled hair, as if the restraint, it was part of the game, too. My bare toes curled on the marble floor as I set down my brush on the sink vanity, every inch of my body aware of where he stood in the doorway, aware of his eyes upon me in the mirror's reflection. That's just mean. That is just mean. All clean, I declared, my voice hoarse as I met his stare in the mirror. I could have sworn only darkness and stars swirled be- beyond his shoulders. A blink, and they were gone, but a predatory hunger on his face. I turned, my fingers trembling slightly as I clutched my towel around me. Reese only extended a hand, his own fingers shaking. Even the towel was abrasive against my too sensitive skin as I laid my hand on his calluses scraping as they closed over my fingers. I wanted them scraping all over me. But he simply led me into the bedroom, step after step, the muscles of his broad back shifting beneath his jacket and lower, the sleek, powerful cut of his thighs, his ass. I was going to devour him from head to toe. I was going to devour him. Jesus fucking Christ, all right. But Reese paused before the bed, releasing my hand and facing me from the safety of a step away. And it was the expression on his face as he traced a still tender spot on my cheekbone that checked the heat threatening to raise my senses. I swallowed, my hair dripping on the carpet. Is the bruise bad? It's nearly gone. Darkness flickered in the room once more. I scanned that perfect face, every line and angle, the fear and rage and love, the wisdom and cunning and strength. I let my towel drop to the carpet. Let him look me over as I put a hand to his chest, his heart raging beneath my palm. Ready for ravishing? My words didn't come out with the swagger I'd intended. Not when Reese's answering smile was a dark, cruel thing. I hardly know where to begin. So many possibilities. He lifted a finger, and my breath came hard and fast as he idly circled one of my breasts, then the other, in ever tightening rings. I could start here, he murmured. I clenched my thighs together. He noted the movement, that dark smile growing. And just before his finger reached the tip of my breast, just before he gave me what I was about to beg for, his finger slid upward to my chest, my neck, my chin, right to my mouth. He traced the shape of my lips, a whisper of touch. Or I could start here, he breathed, slipping the tip of his finger into my mouth. And I couldn't help myself from closing my lips around him, from flicking my tongue against the pad of his finger. But Reese withdrew his finger with a soft groan, making a downward path along my neck, chest, straight over a nipple. He paused there, flicking it once, then smoothed his thumb over a small hurt. I was shaking now, barely able to keep standing as his finger continued past my breast. He drew patterns on my stomach, scanning my face as he purred. Or I couldn't think beyond that single finger, that one point of contact as it drifted lower and lower to where I wanted him. Or I managed to breathe. His hand dipped, hair sliding over his brow as he watched. We both watched his broad finger venture down. Or I could start here, he said, the words guttural and raw. I didn't care, not as he dragged that finger down the center of me, not as he circled that spot, light and taunting. Here would be nice, he observed, his breathing uneven. Or maybe even here, he finished and plunged that finger inside me. I groaned, gripping his arms, nails digging into the muscles beneath. muscles that shifted as he pumped with his fingers once, twice, then slid it out and drawled, brows rising. Well, where shall I begin, Feyre darling? I could barely form words, thoughts, but I'd had enough of playing. So I took that infernal hand of his, guiding it to my heart, and placed it there, half over the curve of my breast. I met his hooded gaze as I spoke the words that I knew would be his undoing in this little game. The words that were rising up in me within every breath. You're mine. It snapped the tether he'd kept on himself. Evil woman. Cruel, evil woman. His clothes vanished. All of them. Jesus. His mouth angled over my own. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It wasn't soft or searching. It was a claiming, wild, and unchecked. It was an unleashing. And the taste of him, the heat of him, the demanding stroke of his tongue against my own. Home. I was home. My hands shot into his hair, pulling him closer as I answered each of his searing kisses with my own, unable to get enough, unable to touch and feel enough of him. Skin to skin. Reese nudged me towards the bed, his hands kneading my rear as I ran my own over the velvet softness of him, over every hard plane and ripple. His beautiful, mighty wings tore from his back, splaying wide before neatly tucking in. My thighs hit the bed behind us, and Reese paused, trembling, giving me time to reconsider. Even now, my heart strained, but I pulled my mouth from his, held his gaze as I lowered myself onto the white sheets and inched back, further and further onto the bed, until I was bare before him, until I took in the considerable proud length of him, and my core tightened in answer. Reese, I breathed, his name a plea on my tongue. His wings flared, chest heaving as stars sparked in his eyes. And it was the longing there, beneath the desire, beneath the need. It was the longing in those beautiful eyes that made me glance to the mountains tattooed on his knees, the insignia of his court, our court, the promise that he would kneel for no one and nothing but his crown. And me, mine. He was mine. Ascend the thought down the bond. No playing, no delaying. I wanted him on me, in me. I needed to feel him, hold him, share breath with him. He heard the edge of desperation, felt it through the mating bond flowing between us. His eyes did not leave mine as he prowled over me, every movement graceful as a stalking plains cat, interlacing our fingers, his breathing uneven. Reese used the need to nudge my legs apart and settle between them. What do you think? Should I stop there? Seems like a good place to stop, right? Easy now. I'll keep going, don't worry. That would be me. That would be me. All right. Carefully, lovingly, he laid our joined hands beside my head as he guided himself into me and whispered in my ear, You're mine too. At the first nudge of him, I surged forward to claim his mouth. I dragged my tongue over his teeth, swallowing his groan of pleasure as his hips rolled in gentle thrusts as he pushed in and in and in. Home. This was home. And when Reese was seated to the hilt, and when Reese was seated to the hilt, when he paused to let me adjust to the fullness of him, I thought I might explode into the moonlight and flame. Though I might die, thought I might die from the sheer force of what swept through me. My pants were edged with sobs as I dug my fingers into his back, and Reese withdrew slightly to study my face, to read what was there. Never again, he promised as he pulled out, then thrust back in with excruciating slowness. He kissed my brow, my temple. My darling Farah. Beyond words, I moved my hips, urging him deeper, harder. Reese obliged me. With every movement, every shared breath, every whispered endearment and moan, that mating bond I'd hidden so far inside myself grew brighter, clearer. And when it again shone as brilliantly as adamant, my release cascaded through me, leaving my skin glowing like a newborn star in its wake. At the sight of it, right as I dragged the finger down the sensitive inside of his wing, Reese shouted my name and found his pleasure. I held him through every heaving breath, held him as he at last stilled, lingering inside me, and relished the feel of his skin on mine. For long minutes we remained there, tangled together, listening to our breathing even out, the sound of it finer than any music. After a while, Reese lifted his chest enough to take my right hand, to examine the tattoos inked there. He kissed one of the whorls of near blue black ink. His throat bobbed. I missed you. Every second, every breath. Not just this, he said, shifting his hips for emphasis and dragging a groan from deep in my throat. But talking to you, laughing with you. I missed having you in my bed, but miss having you as my friend even more. My eyes burned. I know, I managed to say, stroking a hand down his wings, his back. I know. I kissed his bare shoulder, right over a whirl of Illyrian tattoo. Never again, I promised him, and whispered it over and over as the sunlight drifted across the floor. And that is chapter 14. Oh, fucking hell. What a chapter. Mm. Mm-mm. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, that was, I mean, it was really fucking hot, but that was one of the most tender love scenes I've ever encountered. Like, that was beautiful. Like, hot, but beautiful. Exactly, just intimate. Chapter 15. I wasn't planning to. Let me see how long it is. Oh, that is a long chapter. Um, what do you think? Chapter 15? I doubt it'll be as entertaining as chapter 14. Thoughts? Hmm. What time is it? All right, yeah, I got time. Fine. Enough arm twisting. I got it. All right. Since we're here, exactly. Since we're here, you ready? Chapter 15. My sisters have been living in the House of Wind since they arrived in Velaris. They did not leave the palace built into the upper parts of a flat top mountain overlooking the city. They did not ask for anything or anyone, so I would go to them. Lucian was waiting in the sitting room when Reese and I came downstairs at last, my mate having given the silent order for them to return. Unsurprisingly, Cassian and Astro were casually seated in the dining room across the hall, eating lunch and marking every single breath Lucian emitted, with good reason. Cassian smirked at me, brows flicking up. Fucking Cassian. I shot him a warning glare that dared him to comment. Asriel, thankfully, just kicked Cassian under the table. Cassian gawked at Asriel as if to declare I wasn't going to say anything, while I approached the open archway into the sitting room, Lucian rising to his feet. Fucking Cassian and Asriel. I fought I fought my cringe as I halted in the threshold. Lucian was still in his travel-worn, filthy clothes. His face and hands, at least, were clean. But I should have got him something else. Remember to offer him. The thought rippled away into nothing as Reese appeared at my side. Excuse me. Lucian did not bother to hide the slight curling of his lip. What the hell? 1 second. It detected inactivity in my life, so it was gonna lock me out. Apparently, I'm supposed to be here. I'll tap the screen. I'll like my own live. There we go. I don't know what's wrong with TikTok. Where was I? The thought rippled away into nothing as Reese appeared at my side. Lucian did not bother to hide the slight curling of his lip. Careful now. As if he could see the mating bond glowing between Reese and me. His eyes, both russet and golden, slid down my body, to my hand, to the ring now on my finger, at the star sapphire sky bright against the silver. A simple silver band sat on Reese's matching finger. We'd slid them onto each other's hands before coming downstairs, more intimate and searing than any publicly made vows. I told Reese before we did, so that I had. Oh, I told Reese before we did, so that I had have a mind to deposit his ring at the Weaver's cottage and make him retrieve it. Should have done that. He'd laugh and said that if I truly felt it was necessary to settle the score between us, perhaps I could find some other creature for him to battle, one that wouldn't delight in removing my favorite part from his body. I'd only kissed him, murmuring about someone thinking rather highly of themselves, and had placed the ring he'd selected for himself, bought here in Velaris, while I'd been away, onto his finger. Any joy, any lingering laughter from that moment, the silent vows. It curled up like leaves in a fire as Lucian sneered at our rings. How close we stood. I swallowed. Careful, Lucian. Be real fucking careful. Reese noted it too. It was impossible to miss. My mate leaned against the carved archway and drawled to Lucian. I assume Cassian or Asriel has explained that if you threaten anyone in this house, This territory will show you ways to die you've never even imagined. Indeed, the Illyrians smirked from where they lingered in the dining room threshold. Asriel was by far the more terrifying of the pair. Something twisted in my gut at the threat, the smooth, sleek aggression. Lucian had been, my friend. He wasn't my enemy, not entirely. But, Reese continued, sliding his hands into his pockets, I can understand how difficult this past month has been for you. I know Feyre explained we aren't exactly as rumor suggests. I'd let him into my mind before we'd come down, show him all that had occurred at the spring court. But hearing it and seeing it are two different things. He shrugged with one shoulder. Elaine has been cared for. Her, partic- her participation in life here has been entirely her choice. No one but us and a few trusted servants have entered the House of Wind. Lucian remained silent. I was in love with Feyre, Reese said quietly, long before she ever returned the feeling. Lucian crossed his arms. How fortunate that you got what you wanted in the end. I closed my eyes for a heartbeat. Cassian and Asriel stilled, waiting for the order. I will only say this once, warned the High Lord of the Night Court. Even Lucian flinched. I suspected Feyre was my mate before I ever knew she was involved with Tamlin. And when I learned of it, if it made her happy, I was willing to step back. Exactly. I made a point in my one of my last videos, the one that talks about Lucian specifically, of like, if Reese would have thought that Pharaoh would have been happy with Tam Tam, fucking tampon, trampoline, if he thought that, he would have stayed away. He would not have like selfishly placed himself in the middle of that situation. It wasn't until she begged to be saved at that wedding that he stepped in. I don't think Lucian is coming anywhere close to that. Anywhere. And he's gonna get a chance to. But like, the only reason he's there is to get Elaine. All right, moving on. You came to her house and stole her away on her wedding day. I was going to call the wedding off, I cut in, taking a step towards Lucian. You knew it. Rhysand went on before Lucian could snap a reply. I was willing to lose my mate to another male. I was willing to let them marry if it brought her joy. But what I was not willing to do was let her suffer, to let her fade away into a shadow. And the moment that piece of shit blew apart his study, the moment he locked her in that house, his wings ripped from him and Lucian started. Rhys bared his teeth. My limbs turned light, trembling at the dark power curling in the corners of the room. Not fear, never fear from him, but at the shattered control that Rhys snarled at Lucian. My mate may one day find it in herself to forgive him, forgive you. But I will never forget how I felt to sense her terror in those moments. My cheeks heated, especially as Cashin and Asriel stalked closer, those hazel eyes now filled with a mix of sympathy and wrath. I had never talked about it to them. What had gone on that day Tamlin had destroyed his study, or the day he'd sealed me inside the manor. I never asked Reese if he informed them. From the fury rippling from Cashin, the cold rage seeping from Asriel, I didn't think so. Lucian, to his credit, didn't back away a step from Reese, or me, or the Illyrians. The clever fox stares down winged death. The painting flashed in my mind. So again, I will say this only once. Reese went on, his expression smoothing into lethal calm, dragging me from the colors and light and shadows gathering in my mind. Feyre does not dishonor or betray Tamlin. I revealed the mating bond months later, and she gave me hell for it, don't worry. But now that you've found your mate in a similar situation, perhaps you will try to understand how it felt. And if you can't be bothered, then I hope you're wise enough to keep your mouth shut. Because the next time you look at my mate with that disdain and disgust, I won't bother to explain it again. I will rip out your fucking throat. Attaboy, Reese. Reese said it so mildly that the threat took a second to register, to settle in me like a stone plunked into a pool. Lucian only shifted on his feet, wary, considering. I counted the heartbeats, debating how much I'd interfere if he said something truly stupid, when he at last murmured, "There is a longer story to be told, it seems." Smart answer. The rage ebbed from Reese's face, and Cassian's and Asriel's shoulders relaxed ever so slightly. Just once, Lucian had said to me during those days on the run, that was all he wanted, to see Elaine only once. And then I'd have to figure out what to do with him, unless my maid already had some plan in motion. One look at Reese, who lifted his brows as if to say, "He's all yours," told me it was my call. But until then, I cleared my throat. "I'm going to see my sisters up at the house," I said to Lucian, whose eyes snapped to mine, the metal one tightening and whirring. I forced a grim smile to my face. "Would you like to come?" Lucian waited my offer, and the three males monitoring his every blink and breath. He only nodded. Another wise decision. We were gone within minutes, the quick walk up to the roof of the townhouse serving as Lucian's tour of my home. I didn't bother to point out the bedrooms. Lucian certainly didn't ask. Asriel left us as we took to the skies, murmuring that he had some pressing business to attend to. From the glare Cashin gave him, I wonder if the Shadow Singer had invented it to avoid carrying Lucian to the House of Wind. But Reese's subtle nod to Asriel told me enough. There were indeed matters afoot, plans in motion, as they always were. And once I finished visiting my sisters, I'd get answers of my own. So Cashin bore a stone-faced Lucian into the skies, and Reese swept me into his arms, shooting us gracefully into the cloudless blue. With every wing beat, with every deep inhale of the citrus and salt breath, some tightness in my body uncoiled. Even if every wing beat brought us closer to the house looming above Valaris, to my sisters. Quick break. I'm hunching a lot. Checking in. How's everyone doing so far? Everyone having a good time? Perfect. I've missed a lot of messages. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm a little focused. My voice is calming. I'm very glad it has that effect. Although I've been told it has the opposite effect. More than once actually. Oh, that's right. You had a retirement party, right? I think you commented that. Um, well, I meant my voice has been called intimidating before, which is insane because I am a teddy bear. Huge cinnamon roll. Oh, I hope she feels better. Such an SJM flex there. What's the SJM flex? Oh, thank you, Ang. What's the SJM flex, Lex? Oh, mm, no comment, Ash. No comment. Not going home to pass a glass of wine and continue to listen. Nope. I'm right here, and I am definitely not drinking exactly that. In a mason jar, which is I don't know how to feel about that. I just realized I'm drinking out of a mason jar, which probably trashing, but whatever. Very 2010s of me. Yeah, yeah. I'm loving this part, Ash. It's great. Mason jars are idea glass. Thank you. Crochet, crocheting. I That's one thing I really want to learn how to do. Although someone messaged me and told me that whenever I go live, they do the screencasting and put me on their TV, which like when I listen to a live, like it's usually to like listen to something while I'm doing something else. I did not think I was like big TV focus, like center of attention kind of thing. That was incredibly flattering in the weirdest way. This is an awesome idea. HDSL. You might need to try that. Yeah, you should totally try that on the TV. Turn the volume all the way up, especially when I read a spicy part. I would love to see the letters you'll get from your neighbors. Uh, Thank you, Drema. HDSL. Oh, I don't know what HD is, but I got 80 of them bitches. My ears got so red. I don't know what you're talking about. I am incapable of blushing. I am unflappable. I shall not be flapped. Oh, listen, most people cannot pronounce my name, so I get the struggle. If you're wondering, it's Asiel, like Asriel, but without the R. Uh, I am okay. Cannot be flapped. Completely unflappable. I've never blushed. Anyways, all right, let's keep going. Yeah. The House of Wind had been carved into the red sun warm stone of the flat topped mountains that lurked over one edge of the city. with countless balconies and patios jutting to overhang the 1,000-foot drop to the valley floor. Valaris's winding streets flowed right into the sheer wall of the mountain itself, and snaking through it wove the Cedra, a glittering bright band in the midday sun. As we landed on the veranda that edged our usual dining room, Cashin and Lucian alighting behind us, I let it sink in. The city and the river and the distant sea, the jagged mountains on the other side of Valaris, and the blazing blue of the sky above, and the House of Wind, my other home, the grand formal sister to the townhouse, our public home, I supposed, where we would hold meetings and receive guests who weren't family, a far more pleasant alternative to my other residence, the Court of Nightmares. At least there, I could stay in the Moonstone Palace, high atop the mountain under which the Hewn City, Hewn City, had been built. Though the people it rule over, I shut them from my thoughts as I adjusted my braid, tucking in strands that had been whipped free by the gentle wind Reese had allowed through his shield while flying. Lucian had just walked to the balcony rail and stared out. I didn't quite blame him. I glanced over his shoulder to where Reese and Cassian now stood. Reese lifted a brow. Wait inside. Reese's smile was sharp. So you won't have any witnesses when you push him over the railing? I gave him an incredulous look and strode for Lucian. Reese's murmur to Cassian about getting a drink in the dining room, the only indication of their departure. That and the near silent opening and closing of the glass doors that led into the dining room beyond. The same room where I'd first met most of them, my new family. I came up beside Lucian, the wind-ribbon strand of his red hair free from where he tied it at his nape. This isn't what I expected, he said, taking in the sprawl of Valaris. The city is still rebuilding after a Hybern attack. His eyes dropped to the carved balcony rail. Even though we had no part in that, I'm sorry. But that's not what I meant. He glanced behind us, to where Reese and Cassian waited inside the dining room, drinks now in hand, leaning all too casually against the giant oak table in its center. They became immensely interested in some spot or stain on the surface between them. I scowled at them, but swallowed. And even though my sisters waited inside, even though the urge to see them was so tangible, I wouldn't have been surprised to find a rope tugging me into the house. I said to Lucian, Reese saved my life on Kalanmai. So I told him all of it, the story that perhaps would help him understand and realize how truly safe Elaine was. He now was. I eventually summoned Reese to explain his own history, and he gave Lucian the barest details. None of the vulnerable, sorrowful bits that had reduced me to tears in that mountain cabin, but it painted a clear enough picture. Lucian said nothing while Reese spoke, or when I continued with my tale. Cassian often chiming in with his own account of how it'd been to live with two mated yet unmated people, to pretend Reese wasn't courting me, to welcome me into their little circle. I didn't know how long had passed when we finished, though Reese and Cassian used the time to unabashedly sun their wings by the open balcony ledge. I left off her story at Hybern, at the day I'd gone back to the spring court. Silence fell, and Reese and Cassian again walked away, understanding the emotions swimming in Lucian's eye, the meaning of the long breath he blew out. When we were alone, Lucian rubbed his eyes. I've seen Reason do such horrible things. Seen him play the Dark Prince over and over, and yet you tell me it was all a lie, a mask, all to protect this place, these people, and I would have laughed at you for believing it. And yet, the CD exists, untouched, or until recently, I suppose. Even the Doncor cities are nothing so lovely as this. Lucien, and you love him, and he truly loves you. Lucien dragged a hand through his red hair. And all these people I have spent my centuries hating, even fearing, they are your family. I think Amryn would probably deny that she feels any affections for us. Amryn is a bedtime story they told us as younglings, to make us behave. Amryn was who would drink my blood and carry me to hell if I acted out of line. And yet, there she was, acting more like a cranky old aunt than anything. We don't we don't embrace protocol and rank here. Obviously, Reese Reese lives in a townhouse by the cauldron. He waved an arm to encompass the city. I didn't know what to say, so I kept silent. I hadn't realized I was the villain in your narrative, Lucian breathed. You weren't, not entirely. The sun danced on the distant sea, turning the horizon into a glittering sprawl of light. She doesn't know anything about you, only the basics that Reese gave her. You are a High Lord's son, serving in the Spring Court, and you helped me under the mountain. Nothing else. I didn't add that Reese had told my sister. I didn't add that Reese had told me that my sister hadn't asked about him at all. I straightened. I would like to see them first. I know you're anxious. Just do it, Lucian said, bracing his forearms on the stone rail of the veranda. Come get me when she's ready. I almost patted his shoulder, almost said something reassuring. But words failed me again as I headed for the dim interior of the house. Reese had given Nesta and Elaine a suite of connecting rooms, all with views overlooking the city and river and distant mountains beyond. But it was in the family library that Reese tracked down Nesta. Oh, here we go. Fucking Nesta. Yes, I know. She gets better. But it's fucking Nesta. I stand by everything I've said. I hold grudges. I will I won't voice her. Oh, and that's another thing. I'm reading this out loud. I can voice her however I want, but I'm not gonna be an asshole. Um, I was the biggest fan when you find out more. Yes, I know. She gets better, but who she is now is someone who deserves just frustration. Thank you. She gets her Suguri. Listen, listen. Undoubtedly, not up for debate. Suko had the best character arc, best redemption arc in all of media. Any type, like books, movies, video games, TV shows, everything. Nesta having a comparable redemption arc would be insane. And Lex, I really appreciate you saying that because, like, yes, I'm aware that she gets better. There's a book. I have the book from her point of view. It'd be very difficult to sell a book with a unlikable main character. I get that she gets better. But so far in the story, and that's what like a lot of people that comment this on my videos need to realize from what I've read, cunt. Sorry, but like so far, up until book 3, chapter 15, she gets far worse before she gets better. Mm. Oh, yay. Yay. I'm sure I'll like her eventually. But she just stood by and did nothing. Well, and I've made this argument so many times, but she stood by and did nothing while Feyre kept their family alive. And listen, if you're useless, fine, be useless. I really like Elaine, but she's a bit useless. Love her. She's a sweetheart. But the thing is, that's fine. I don't dislike Elaine for being useless because some people are good in certain situations, some are not. Yeah, yeah. Is Elaine a little boring? Sure. Sure. Like, I agree with you, Ash. She's a little boring, but I don't dislike her. Would I want to read a book from her point of view? No. But I don't dislike her. I dislike Nesta because not only is she useless, she's also a bitch. Why be mean to the one person keeping you alive, you ungrateful asshole? And I'll bet money what I'm about to read with Nesta in it, she's gonna be an asshole. I just know it in my bones. She also didn't volunteer her town came knowing Pharaoh could keep the family alive. Yep, exactly. Yep. I'll see you in Silver Flame. I guess I'll see you in Silver Flame. I only have this as reference. Well, did you miss the good? Yeah, yeah, you did. Sorry. Yeah, I finished chapter 14 and I decided to keep going and read 15 as well. And now I'm on a Nesta tangent because Nesta, and now you're caught up. She gets a real redemption arc. I still hate Chow, Chael, Gale, Cow, Kale. That's that Throne of Glass. Okay, that makes sense. That is not how I would have expected to pronounce that fucking name. Kale. Got it. He's from Throne of Glass. Kale's from Throne of Glass. Yep, got it. Still hate him. I guess I'll get there and hate him right alongside with you. Yet there in Silver Flames, I don't like Nesta. No excuses for how she treated Feyre. That's a hot take from what I hear. From what I hear about Nesta and what how people feel about her. That's a real hot take. Ko. So yeah, Ko. Am I early? Has the reading started yet? The readings there is well along its way. I finished chapter 14, halfway through 15. So you're a little late, Regina. Dame, I don't hate Kale like that. I can't put my 2 cents in on this one. I haven't read Throne of Glass yet. And me too. I need to read those series as well. I kind of understood her after reading Silver Flame, and I sympathize with her. She is a relatable trauma bond character. Listen, trauma makes you do inexplicable things. Um, Trauma and trauma responses are not um, based on logic, mostly. Let's put it that way. You can't control the emotions you have towards trauma, towards the bad things that happen to you. You can control your actions and your behavior. That you can control. So, trauma's never an excuse, not for behavior. I thought you've read all the Massverse already. Just thought you were doing a reread. No, the only SJM books I've read are ACOTAR and Mist and Fury, and I am now on Wings and Ruin. This is my first time, and I will definitely read Crescent City as well, and Throne of Glass. Will you read Fourth Wing at some point? Yes, I have Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, like physical copies, right there waiting for me. Um, Only two in my defense. I was watching Wayne's World 2 with my dad. Great movie. All right, what I miss? Unless you're trying self-medicating to trauma, not recommended. Yeah, self-medicating is usually not a good idea unless you have a cold. Um, Seeking therapy and professional help, always recommended. Always a good idea. Even if you don't think, even if you don't think you need it, a lot of times you do. Look forward to watching your journey. Look forward to going through it. Happy to be here. So many series I need to read. Same. Um, okay, all right. Let's get back to it. I've been at it for an hour and a half. Let's and I've gotten through a chapter and a half. So let's get through it. Although I love talking to you guys. Where was I? Um, there we go. But it was in the library that Reese tracked down Nesta. There was a coiled, razor sharp tension in Cassian as the three of us strode down the stairways of the house. The red stone halls, dim and echoing with the rustle of Cassian's wings and the faint howl of wind rattling at every window. A tension that grew more taut with every step towards the double doors of the library. I hadn't asked if they had seen each other or spoken since that day in Highburn. Cassian volunteered no information, and I might have asked Reese down the bond had he not opened one of the doors. Had I not immediately spied Nesta curled in an armchair, a book on her knees, looking, for once, very un-Nesta like, casual, perhaps relaxed, perfectly content to be alone. The moment my shoes scuffed against the stone floor, she shut straight up, back going stiff, closing her book with a muffled thud. Yet her gray blue eyes didn't so much as widen as they beheld me, as I took her in. Nesta had been beautiful as a human woman. As High Fae, she was devastating. From the utter stillness with which Cassian stood beside me, I wonder if he thought the same thing. Cassian is fucked. She was in a pewter colored gown, its make simple, yet the material fine. Her hair was braided over the crown of her head, accentuating her long pale neck, a neck Cassian's eyes darted to, then quickly away from, as she sized us up and said to me, "You're back." With her hair styled like that, it hid the pointed ears. but there was nothing to hide the ethereal grace as she took one step. As her focus again returned to Cashin, and she added, "What do you want?" It felt like a blow. If I felt the blow like a punch to my gut. At least immortality hasn't changed some things about you. Nesta's look was nothing short of icy. Is there a purpose to this visit, or may I return to my book? See what I mean? You see what I mean. Thank you. Okay. Reese's hand brushed mine in silent comfort, but his face, hard as stone, and even less amused. But Cashin sauntered over to Nesta, a half smile spreading across his face. She stood stiffly while he picked up the book, read the title, and chuckled. "I would have pegged you for a romance reader." She gave him a withering glare. She's reading smut. Uh, Cashin leaves through the pages and drawled to me. "You haven't missed much while you were off destroying our enemies, Feyre. It's mostly being this." Nesta whirled to me. "You accomplished it?" I clenched my jaw. "We'll see how it plays out. I made sure Iantha suffered." At the hint of rage and fear that crept into Nesta's eyes, I amended, "Not enough, though." I glanced at her hand, the one she'd pointed with at the king of Hybern. Reese had mentioned no signs of special powers from either of my sisters. Yet that day in Hybern, when Nesta had opened her eyes, I had seen it, seen something great and terrible within them. She's definitely gonna have powers. She's definitely gonna have powers. Um, where was I? And again, why are you here, bitch? She snatched her book from Cashin, while I her to do so, but remained standing beside her, watching every breath, every blink. "I wanted to see you," I said quietly. "See how you were doing. See if I've accepted my lot and found myself grateful for becoming one of them." I steeled my spine. "You're my sister. I watched them hurt you. I wanted to see if you were all right." A low, bitter laugh, but she turned to Cashin, looked him over as if she were a queen on a throne, and then declared to all of us, "What do I care? I get to be young and beautiful forever, and I never have to go back to those psychopathic fools over the wall. I get to do as I wish, since apparently no one here has any regard for rules or manners or our traditions. Perhaps I should thank you for dragging me into this." Reese put a hand on the small of my back before the words even struck their target. Nesta snorted. "But it's not me you should be checking on. I had as little at stake on the other side of the wall as I do here." Hate rippled over her features, enough hate that I felt sick. Nesta hissed, "She will not leave her room. She will not stop crying. She will not eat or sleep or drink." Reese's jaw clenched. "I have asked you over and over if you needed. Why should I allow you, any of you?" The last word was shot at Cassian with as much venom as a pit viper. "To get near her. It is no one's business but our own." "Elaine's mate is here," I said, and it was the wrong thing to utter in Nesta's presence. Okay, no shit. She went white with rage. "He is no such thing to her," she snarled, advancing on me enough that Reese slid a shield into place between us. as if he too had glimpsed that mighty power in her eyes that day in Highburn, and did not know how it would manifest. And you bring that male anywhere near her, you'll what? Crashing, Cassian crooned, trailing her at a casual pace as she stopped perhaps 5 feet from me. He lifted a brow as she whirled on him. You won't join me for practice, so you sure as hell aren't going to hold your own in a fight. You won't talk about your powers, so you certainly aren't going to be able to wield them, and you shut your mouth, she snapped. Every inch the conquering empress. I told you to stay the hell away from me. And if you come between a male and his mate, Nesta Acheron, and you're going to learn about the consequences the hard way. Nesta's nostrils flared. Cassian only gave her a crooked grin. I cut in. If Elaine is not up for it, then she won't see him. I won't force the meeting on her. But he does wish to see her, Nesta. I'll ask on his behalf, but the decision will be hers. The male who sold us out to Highburn. It's more complicated than that. Well, it's certainly going to be more complicated when father returns and finds us gone. What do you plan to tell him about all this? Seeing as he hasn't sent word from the continent in months, I'll worry about that later. I sniped back, and thanked the Calderon for it, that he was off trading in some lucrative territory. Nesta only shook her head, turning towards the chair and her book. I don't care. Do what you want. A stinging dismissal, if not admission that she still trusted me enough to consider Elaine's needs first. Reese jerked his chin at Cassian in a silent order to leave, and as I followed them, I said softly, I'm sorry, Nesta. She didn't answer as she sat stiffly in her chair, picked up her book, and dutifully ignored us. A blow to the face would have been better. When I looked ahead, I found Cassian staring back at Nesta as well. I wonder why no one had yet mentioned what now shone in Cassian's eyes as he gazed at my sister, the sorrow, and the longing. Oh, Cassian is fucked. Yeah, he's got a bet. He's definitely screwed though. Absolutely, without a doubt. Well, I think I'm gonna stop there. My throat's starting to hurt. They're very well matched. Um, yeah, yeah, they are well matched. And they're very different, but Cashin is exactly where he wants to be. Yeah, I know. They're both fierce, but they are so different. In a way that Reese and Feyre are not. Reese and Feyre are different, but they are both. I don't know. They're meant to rule. You know. Um, they are. Reese and Feyre are perfectly matched because they are just different enough for it to be interesting, but cohesive in every way. Nesta and Cassian, I foresee them being the fun couple. It'll be fun to read about them, but tumultuous would be a good word to describe them, probably. That's what I'm that's what I'm forecasting. Unpopular opinion, but Cassian deserves better. You know how I feel about Nesta. I'm going to withhold that specific opinion until I finish Silver Flames. After I finish Silver Flames, then I'll let my opinion be known. But I mean, obviously, as of right now, yeah, no, Cassian absolutely deserves better. Two sides of the sword, sharp edge, but strong. I think my cat likes when you read, just chilling with me while I'm watching this. Well, hi, cat. Tell your cat I say pss, 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 pss. That's all I got for 'em. But yeah, on that note, I'm gonna call it a night. It was great hanging out with you guys again. I've definitely missed it, and I'm gonna try to. You're welcome, eh? I'm gonna try to do this a little more often. Um, in my comments, if you see a video of mine and there's a chapter that you want me to read, comment which chapter it is. That way, I don't spoil it for myself. Like read it and then go like, "Oh, I should have probably read this chapter on live." Like I want to react to it with you. But yeah, happy Friday. Have an amazing weekend, everyone. And yeah, be good.